pun. I just thought that for the benefit of our Indian colleagues, I might just spend a minute just talking about our experience in Australia in regards to teacher training, and that's certainly a subject which has occupied much attention over the last couple of days. If I talk about my institution in particular, the Central Institute of Technology in Perth in Western Australia, our teachers must have 5 years' experience in industry before I can employ them. That's a condition of their employment. So they're not academics, they are people who have experience in industry, who we then provide with a qualification which is designed to enable them to impart skills and knowledge that they've gained through their experience. So they learn delivery strategies, they learn how to conduct assessment, be it in the workplace or in a simulated workplace environment, to ensure that the graduates from their programs are job ready. In fact, our institutes are measured on the basis of the proportion of graduates who achieve employment outcomes after their study. And it enables them to work with what we call training packages, which are developed by our industry skills councils on the basis of industry input. So they teach the competencies that are specified by industry. So in a sense, the people who teach in our institutions are what we would refer to as dual professionals. They are required to maintain the highest level of professional standards in their own vocations, be it engineering or healthcare or and the like, but equally to maintain their professional standing as teachers, as vocational teachers. So I just thought it was important for me to just put that into context. If I could now just turn to the work that was commissioned by the Australia-India Education Council Skills Group. The Skills Group commissioned Central, my institute, to oversee a feasibility study into establishing a centre of excellence for vocational teacher training in India. And I should acknowledge that that project was funded by the Australian government and the Australia-India Institute, which is based at the University of Melbourne. Deloitte in India undertook the feasibility study, and I received the final draft report very late last Friday, and to date I've only been able to read it fairly quickly. But the intent of the report was to look at the design and delivery of teacher training here, the design and delivery of professional development, to look at the extent of industry support there was for such a venture, to look at research into skills needs and different training models, and to look at best practice, and I guess with the overarching aim of enhancing skill development. The report was very comprehensive and thorough analysis of the skills environment in India. All of the targets, which we're all now familiar, the infrastructure, the governance arrangements, the roles of the various government agencies, the private agencies, the entire system architecture was very comprehensively described. The report confirmed that the policy environment is conducive to establishing such a centre. Just to give you some idea of the need, it identifies that India requires 560,000 more trainers up to the year 2022. So that's at the rate of 39,000 additional trainers per year. But it notes that, and these are my words, that there isn't a regulatory bite. So I've just described in Australia that someone is not allowed to assess or deliver an Australian qualification without having completed the requisite qualification, the certificate for. So there isn't as yet regulatory bite. There is no mandatory requirement for someone to possess a teaching qualification. Part of the object was to consult with stakeholders, and it found that there was almost universal support for the notion of a teacher training centre of excellence. Yet, when it came to the question of active engagement and support, that was mixed. There were many instances where people indicated a propensity to do their own thing. So a number of sector councils who indicated that it was their intention to establish their own centres for teacher training. One of the things that the report did touch on was that the Australian Certificate 4 may not be ideally suited to the Indian context, because the qualification has been developed specifically for delivery in Australia in an Australian context. And in that regard, there is some work currently happening to look at a customised vocational teaching qualification which would be jointly recognised in Australia and India. The factors for success were considered to be market maturity, and there was an observation that the market is maturing in India. The finalisation of the national skills quality framework, and whether under that there would be some sort of mandating requirement. Clearly funding support and industry recognition. In terms of pedagogy, and there was a lot of emphasis on pedagogy, the report noted that knowledge of a subject area is not sufficient, and that goes back to my introductory comments about practical approaches to training delivery. That the academic focus of existing trainers was a matter of concern, and that there was a need for soft skills and what are referred to as entrepreneurial skills. So the case for the centre is strong. The business case for the centre is not strong. And by that I mean that the report concluded that such a centre is not commercially feasible at this point. However, reflecting on the Minister's challenge this morning, clearly to set up a centre that's associated with the Centre for Vocational Education in Bhopal, I guess the next steps would be the need for some further discussion in the skills group of the AIEC as to how best to give effect to the Minister, the challenge that the Minister has laid down for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neil. I think for we Indians, the concept of a minimum 5 years experience for a faculty as a trainer to be appointed is something very, very new, because we place more emphasis on academics rather than industry experience. This is certainly a very new and important input that we have got. Particularly, I think my Indian friends would agree to this particular fact. Thank you, Mr. Neil. May I now request Mr. Ravi Subramanian. He is the head of Indian Operations AAMC Training Group, and he is going to talk on a case study of VET in Schools initiative with local partners in the state of Tamil Nadu and Rajasthan. One is a state in southern part of our country and another is the northern part. So, Mr. Ravi Subramanian.